they want to eliminate Medicare. There have been votes cast to demonstrate that, both in the House and the Senate. Another vote yesterday. That's what they want to do.
Next call for Congresswoman Barbara Lee comes from Scottsdale, Arizona. Steve, Republican.
Yeah, well, I took my daughter to the hospital yesterday. She was really sick with that stomach flu, and we just saw a mess there. I can't believe how bad. It's like every time you go there, there's so much waste involved. There's so much time spent, and they overcharge and everything. I think the problem lies in basically, especially these southern states, and then they're all against that bill that Arizona proposed, but they're trying to do something to save Arizona with, and I just think there's a lot of trouble with the healthcare industry. It's right there at the hospital. They should go down, these different Congress people should go down there and just see how terrible things are.
All right, Steve, we got the point. Congresswoman Lee, any comment for him?
Sure. First, Steve, I hope your daughter's doing okay. And believe you me, I know what hospitals are like. I know what emergency rooms are like. I've been in many with family members and friends. And that's one of the reasons why healthcare reform is so important, and we can't let the Republicans roll it back. People deserve to have quality, affordable health care. But for the most part, the 40-some million who are uninsured end up in the emergency rooms for primary care. They don't have a doctor to go to. There are very few community clinics. And so what we wanted to do was prevent what you just saw yesterday in terms of making sure that our citizens and people in our country are able to access affordable, quality health care with a primary care doctor or in a community clinic. And healthcare reform is so important, and many of us are going to continue to try to strengthen the healthcare bill and to ensure that all people in our country, men, women, and children, have access to affordable, accessible health care so we can avoid situations that you saw yesterday. And so many of the measures that the Republicans are putting forward would actually increase and exacerbate the problems of people who need health care. And when you look at the fact that they have not created any jobs and nor are talking about creating jobs, we're talking about people who are becoming who are unemployed, who are losing their health care. And so what you saw again yesterday, many people who actually lost their jobs, they lost their health care, so they end up in the emergency rooms, and that's just unacceptable in the wealthiest and most powerful country in the world.
Congresswoman, Joe tweets in to you, is Medicare so perfect that it can't be tinkered with in any way? There are no improvement and no cost savings possible?
First, we have to establish the fact that we're not going to eliminate Medicare. We're going to keep Medicare as we know it, and we're going to ensure that our seniors have Medicare. That's the point. I do not want to see any tinkering with Medicare that will lead to what the Ryan plan wants to do, and that is either privatize or provide a voucher for Medicare recipients to buy health insurance where they'd have to come out of their pockets hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars just to access quality health care. So no, we need to preserve Medicare as it is, and we need to make sure that it's there for those who are senior citizens now and for those who will be senior citizens very soon.
Next call for Congresswoman Lee comes from Wharton, Texas. Herman, Democrat. Herman, yeah. You're on the air.
What I'm afraid of is that behind closed doors, when you meet with the president, why don't the Democrats stand on their 2 feet and not give in to the Republicans on their demand? Because what the Republicans have done is they have kind of like taken from the banks, you know, you got a piggy bank, and they stuck their hand and they took $1,000. So now they want the Democrats to, hey, we're going to force you to put your hand there, whether you take a penny, but you still put your hand in the piggy bank on this Medicare deal. I feel that Medicare should not be touched. What we should do is stick by your ground and take from, like I said, the subsidies from the oil companies. And what my next point should be is that we need to change over the way our credit scores are done, because, you know, when the way to start, the housing market is down, poor folks can't get a loan now. The banks are not lending, but they're setting on record profits, but they're not lending, and that's why I feel the problem is that.
Sir, you are absolutely right. The Democrats need to hold firm, and I'm confident the Democrats will hold firm because the public understands, and we understand, that Medicare cannot be tinkered with, and that we must preserve Medicare, and that we must not allow the Republicans to dismantle Medicare, which is what they want to do. Secondly, as it relates to credit scores, you're absolutely right. So many people have lost their jobs and have lost their houses, first of all. That the majority of the American people, that's the only equity, the only money, the only cash that they can access throughout their lives is the equity in their homes. Thirdly, these scam loan artists, these subprime lenders, came into many communities, many minority communities, disproportionately affected by these scam loan artists. They came in and they convinced people to sign on the dotted line, and what happened several years later? They lost their homes. And so we have to, I think, as a government, first of all, I believe we should have a moratorium on foreclosures. I believe that because we haven't figured it out yet. Secondly, we should ask the credit agencies to revamp the formula that they use when they establish credit scores, because many people who have lost their homes have been paying their bills all of their lives, and when you look at their credit rating, the rating goes down because they can't pay their mortgage, and that's not fair, and it's not their fault. And I think that you're absolutely right, and I wish that we had the backbone in Congress to really tackle the financial services industry so that we can say no more of this. You have to ensure that consumers are treated fairly, because in many instances, in most instances, it's not their fault that they end up with a home in foreclosure and this debt that has been incurred as a result of Wall Street going amok.
Representative Barbara Lee is a member of the Appropriations Committee. She represents the Oakland and Berkeley area of Northern California, began her political career as an intern in the office of former Representative Ron Dellums, former Oakland mayor as well, and was his chief of staff for a while. This tweet comes in for you, Congresswoman. California is a mini example of the U.S. Voters wanted government to take care of everything for them, and look what happened.
I think voters want government to take care of everything for them. I think what voters want is government to be responsible and to provide for the common good. I think voters want the priorities of government to ensure opportunities, to provide equal access to opportunities. And I think that the voters want the government to make sure that the basics are there for the most vulnerable, because not everyone has a fair shot. And we want equal opportunity for everyone. I think voters want Medicare preserved. I don't think voters want to see the Republicans cut Medicare. I think voters want to see our tax dollars go into investments in terms of our infrastructure and creating jobs. And I think voters want an affordable, accessible healthcare system that works. And I know voters want to make sure that women and children and men, families, have the opportunity to live the American dream. And so government, while I don't believe government can take care of all of our problems, we certainly have, as a government, the responsibility and the duty to provide for the common good and to provide for those opportunities so that people can achieve the American dream.
Next call for Congresswoman Barbara Lee, Democrat of California, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Roy on a Republican line. You're on the air.
Good morning, C-SPAN and Representative Lee. Thank you for taking my call. One comment and one question. The comment is I agree with Representative Lee about the militarism of our country. If we would bring our kids back home, protect our own borders, stop, cost a lot less money, and it will secure our borders. Secondly, and this is the question, my own representative, Cassidy from Louisiana, couldn't answer the question. Why don't we usurp the power back from the Federal Reserve and give it back to the representatives in Congress to regulate and issue our currency? That way we can hold them accountable through suffrage. It would eliminate a lot of this thievery, because the Federal Reserve is really a cesspool organization. Nobody who I talk to can name any member who creates the money, because they're not even based in the United States. They're not even members of our republic. They're European-based people. Nobody can hold them accountable. The voters can hold a representative accountable, because the Constitution guarantees that And that's my question. Can you please just answer that?
Well, I think the Federal Reserve has a responsibility in